See, Kathy hardly ever says no. Everything either is or becomes, not everything, but most everything becomes a possibility. And I think the punchline is that I observe in her is it's like if possibility were a religion, it's her. She's got it. So you don't get stuck with whatever you got. There's always knowing that the possibility is always possible is something that she saved my life. I was a particular kind of mess until I actually got that what I wanted was possible. And that came from her and how she is.
Kathy, what do you think about possibilities? Then how do you use that in your head?
I think I have more patience than I used to have, so that when something happens that disrupts the flow, I'm able to sit with it and be a listening to how it is for Charlie or for Jonathan or whatever. And I can not, we spent, I guess, yesterday, probably 2.5 hours with Michael and his girlfriend talking about some of their life's issues and, things that are, things are always changing for everybody. So, and I in the past, I probably wouldn't have had the patience to just sit and observe, listen and take it in and not react. And, if we have a disagreement going on about what's going on, how it should be dealt with, how it should be handled, a lot of times it's just listening to how the other person is being affected and upset by or turned upside down somehow, being present without, what's the thing you say, Charlie, without an outcome, without a conclusion, being able to just be with how it is for the other one. Eventually a space opens up where we can actually talk about what we would not have been able to talk about before. It was impossible because there was so much tension in it that you couldn't say anything conclusive. You couldn't say anything that would not be taken as a reinforcement of what I don't want here, what I don't like here, what I don't, that's not what I mean. So that patience, that calm listening patience is, I don't think it was in me before all this happened. I don't think I was a great example of that.
That doesn't come from something already in you. That's the wonder of it. In order to create something new, something better, somehow, you have to first create nothing, a space, a blank sheet of paper to write on. And people don't do that. They don't create nothing and just stay with zero. It's like zero gravity. You can't get out into space without no gravity from the Earth. And all of us are stuck with the gravity of our parents or our religion or our illness. And you can't get to anything new from that place of being stuck with the gravity of what you have. And it's a skill. You say, is it learnable? Absolutely. I mean, I didn't used to know this.
This fixing things was everything to me. Give me a problem, I'm going to fix it. I will find a fix. And I'll find it before you can even finish explaining what's going on.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, we most of us are. I think that we are brought up in a hurry. How's that sound? Everything's happening in a hurry. And one of the things that this illness has done is say, no, it's not gonna be like that. You don't get to be in a hurry about this. You have to just be patient with it. That's a big lesson. That's not a common, and particularly American, it's just not in our cultural way of being. Now, was that more true in the past? Maybe. Maybe in my childhood, maybe when I, lived in a much more rural, much more intimate community and family structure, that it was easier to access. I don't know. But certainly today's world, it's not easy at all. Who's got time to just be with anything?
Yeah.
You have to
It's
get in
interest-
there and fix it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the farm environment, and I'm surrounded by farms where I am here. But it kind of strikes me that is, and I've not been a farmer. Somebody out there that is a farmer might be saying, "Oh, no, welcome to my world." But I think that you can't make corn grow overnight. It takes time. So there's a certain amount of time that you just gotta sit there. And is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? I don't know. It just is, and getting too far ahead of things. Maybe it's a little bit more of just let it play out. Don't let the cloud in the sky freak you out. It doesn't mean it's going to be a hurricane or a tornado or something. I don't know that maybe I'm drawing a parallel that isn't really there, but it seems kind of somewhat similar.
Well, it is. I think it is. I think it's very much go back to patience, that you have to be able to simply be present to your condition, to the condition of the people around you, to the reality that you can care a million ways and it won't make a difference. How much you try to influence all of that won't matter. Ultimately, it's gonna either rain or it's not, and it's not gonna be up to you.
Yeah.
And that acceptance, not pushing that rock up the hill all the time, that's a lesson out of this illness for me. I don't know how much of that is true for other people, but I think that if we can go back and teach our children and other children to appreciate that, the benefit of having that calmness, maybe a lot of the stuff that's so important and so tension making could recede into the background a little bit and give us more generosity for each other, more.
The magic doesn't come from doing anything. For me, the magic comes from not doing. If you don't use force, if you don't explain, if you don't just think for yourself, what are all of the things that when you don't do it, life works? Silence. We live in a noise. In silence, a lot of this stuff will clear up for you or for me. But it comes from, a lot of astronauts have experienced that the only way, the ones who go up and just fix the machine and so on and so forth, don't experience a wondrous transformational effect. Some do, and it becomes they appreciate the silence. It comes from not trying to explain. Every explanation causes suffering. Something bad happens and you explain it. It's the very active explanation that makes it worse. And I've just gotten a ton. And Kathy is this very silent woman. And the magic, her magic comes from what she doesn't do. And if you can see it for yourself. If you look at all the things she hasn't said or done or been during this call, that's where the magic is. It's in the love, in the gentleness, in the patience. You don't do those things. You don't do patience. You don't do love.
I liked the topic that you were saying about assigning meaning to things in the silence. I mean, I think sometimes I feel like I hear a need to explain something. This is happening because I didn't do this, I did do that, God hates me, the karma, something like that. And I hear that brought up a lot, and sometimes I feel like, just get rid of that, just maybe silence, just be, stop trying to figure out why it happened. Some shit just happens sometimes. I don't feel like, honestly, if this is my karma from past life, or if God really does hate me, then I better make the best of what I got. Because you know what, the next life, my only hope to improve that would be to not screw up this life. Or if God's got it in for me, surely when I die, it's going to get worse. So this is my time to shine. What little bit I got left. I don't know. But I think kind of just accepting that and not trying to create meaning that then creates anger, guilt, shame, stuff that I see come up sometimes. What do you think?
I think it doesn't. I think that happiness and joy doesn't come from meaning. I think it comes from peace, nothing, giving yourself to what you got, giving yourself to what you got.
I didn't used to like the word acceptance. I thought it was, it just didn't sit well with me. And it's an element of grace. I think that having grace in your life allows us freedom and appreciation. And there's a grace that comes in all of that is worth an awful lot. It's just worth an awful lot.
Yeah.
And if you can't give yourself that permission, that acceptance, then there's no peace. There's no way to relieve the stress, the anxiety. And we have to give ourselves that grace.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like that.
Kathy, what is your middle name?
Grace. I was named for my two grandmothers, and one of them was Grace, and she struggled mightily in her life with accepting Grace because she was because she just did not easily get to enjoy that. And I feel like I've gotten the opportunity to live that for her as well as for me,
No, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think as you're talking about it, it kind of resonates with me, because I feel like, I had I have a Wii. Remember the Wii? I still have that, and I get a little balance board because I stand on that to practice. And I got on that. Yeah, it's good for me to practice because my walking sucks, and it points that out. It'll say walking is not your strong suit. It seems, and and
Right.
and it gives me, it'll come back and say, based on the way that you balance, your calculated age is much older than you actually are. Basically, is what they're talking. But I think, and I could get angry about that and say, oh, I don't want to be, I'm 56 years old. I don't want to, be 20 years older right now. But at the same time, I had the thought, like, when I was a kid, when I got to do the things that the older kids were doing, it was awesome. Oh, cool. So, how is that different? I'm doing what the older kids are doing now. But, if I'm living physically as somebody 20, 30 years older than me might be, okay, I mean, that, it's a perceptual thing. Why is that not cool too? And I don't have to like it, but I also kind of feel like it's also just it's not broken. This is everything that's happened to me, whether it's being in a wheelchair, not being able to walk, or ultimately dying. I mean, it happens to everybody. And as we get older, a lot of people will experience what I'm experiencing now. It'll just maybe feel a little bit more timely for them. They won't be in their 40s or 50s. But to me, that doesn't make it wrong. I didn't complain when I, was an overachiever in my 20s and got to do things before the other kids did that. I mean, I was glad to be going fast then. So it seems like something, just take it as it comes, I guess, is the lesson that I'm trying to take away from it, is just stop trying to impose time frames. This should be happening faster. This should be happening slower. This should be different. It just is.
Getting rid of that word should, it would be a very big gift we could give to an awful lot of people if we could get them to actually accept that there is no value in should. Should is a way to just punish yourself. And it's not, it doesn't help. It doesn't make things better. So I don't use that word hardly at all anymore. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the value or not value of anger, sadness, fear, those emotions? They're hard to avoid, and people will say, don't cover up your feelings, acknowledge that they're there. But how do you use that? How do you deal with it? How do you handle those things in a way that you feel good about?
In some part, Charlie has allowed me to express some of those emotions that I never used to give myself time or pay attention to. I had too much going on. I just pushed on past it. And he's really helped me to see that it's beneficial to acknowledge it, to be present to it, to be aware of it. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I think back to patience, where we were earlier, that because I have developed more patience, I'm less volatile in all of those emotional areas. I don't think I'm less these days. I don't think I've lost my edge or lost my being present so much as I've calmed the edges of the storm. So the edges, the storm can play out over a longer period of time. It can dissipate and yes. Do you get, I have days, not days, I have times, moments when I feel the anxiety or the wishing that I had the energy or the enthusiasm that I once had for all kinds of things that I don't. All of that pales in comparison to how lucky I feel like I have it, how lucky I am to be so well supported, to be so well loved and cared for that I don't have to prove anything. And I don't have to the standards have changed. I no longer have to be excellent at performance. That's the big thing. So I can just be present. I don't know where that goes, but that's kind of the conversation for me.
That resonates. I think that sometimes people have said to me, oh, you're so upbeat and maybe you're masking anger. Why don't you get pissed that this happened? And I have my moments of anger. Usually it tends to be very small things, like, when I knock over a glass because I can't feel my hands or something,
Right.
I can swear like a sailor. But then it's gone. I mean, it's not, I'm you said, do you feel lucky? And oddly, I use that word, I feel that word about myself. I mean, some people would say you're an idiot. You've been in and out of a wheelchair. How are you lucky? And I'm like, I've had an amazing life. I have amazing people around me. I've gotten to do amazing things in my mind that I can't do them now, but at least I got to do them. Not, a lot of people, they didn't get that. So what, how can I feel cheated just because I didn't get to go on Space Mountain 10 times in a row? It's like, okay, I got to go once. That was cool. It was
Hey, I've been all over the world. I have seen every place that I wanted to see pretty much. And, there might be a few things that it's like, oh, that would have been nice. But the truth of it is that if I never see the Australian outback, it's not going to change the quality of my life. And the quality of my life is pretty damn good. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. And I've been to Paris and I've been to England and I've been to all these like incredible experiences in Scotland and Ireland and around the country and Canada. And I mean, I would feel ungrateful if I didn't really live in appreciation for the extraordinary experiences that I've had. I can't be more the words don't do it. I can say appreciative and I can say, acknowledging, but I feel like I've had a miraculous and unexpected and really fortunate life, really lucky. And that doesn't go away. Appreciating all those experiences and those places and those people and those times, that doesn't go away. That is like in who I am. That's how I got to be here in this place and having this positive experience of it all being a great gift.
I like that. And I think, it's not just about the stuff. I mean, okay, yeah, is it nice to have a material thing? Is it nice to get a sticker from going someplace? Of course, we all like that, but that isn't really the substance. I wouldn't feel good about those things if I didn't have family and friends that love me, that I love back. And, I mean, I feel like for me, the source of happiness is the core, what true happiness is much smaller than, the peripheral stuff is great. But I had an experience years ago where, where I lost a lot of money, but realized that, that in doing that, I was able to focus. It changed, it was created an opportunity. Yes, losing the money was not good, but it allowed me to spend more time with my kids and invest there. And that you can't put a price on it. I would, no way would I trade the money, get the money back, but lose the time with the kids. No, forget that. And I think, for me with, I don't know about you, I'm content to be angry or sad or whatever, but I really prefer to make something useful out of it. If I'm going to flail around and it's not going to change anything, then it feels like a waste of energy to me. It's just punching a wall or cursing or whatever. If it doesn't move the needle, then I'm just more tired and I feel more shitty than I did before. So what's the point? And it's not that I wouldn't be entitled to be angry. And if being angry motivated me to find a different doctor or do the thing that I didn't want to do, if it spurred me to take some meaningful action, okay, then yeah, I'll channel it. And I think it is really, really useful for that. But I don't know that it always serves me that much otherwise. I don't know what you think about that.
We are almost victims of a culture that measures value by performance. I struggle with this because I don't want my kids to hear me say, oh, performance is not important. Of course it is. You're going to have some kind of a life that you want to have. You're going to have to perform. You're going to have to. At the same time, I want a much deeper appreciation. And I think they're both approaching their 30s, into their 30s. And they're more appreciative of quality of life certainly than I was at that age. And I kind of distracted myself down a tunnel here that I don't know where it goes. But
there's two things going on. If you don't have an aim, like performance or something, you'll never get anywhere. And if you don't have flow, the experience of flow between you and the world, you and the people you care about, if you don't have flow at the beginning and at the end, then you'll never really be able to know or sustain love. Both of those are going on. One is, if you don't have an aim, you'll get anywhere. And if you don't flow at the start and at the end, you will not experience love in any sustainable way. And that's
so how would you define the flow? What to somebody that doesn't understand?
Well, 1 and 1 is 2 is not flow. It's additive. Getting the job done is not a flow. Vincent van Gogh's paintings flow. If you listen to Kathy, if I listen to Kathy talk, it's all flow, and she's intentional. There's two things going on. One is graceful and flowing between us. This is a pretty flowing conversation. We're flowing with what each of us brings. And at the same time, there's a purpose, there's an intention, there's an outcome through the guidance we're getting and who we are. that make any sense to anybody else, or?
Yeah, I find that helpful. I mean, it's a more organic, not quite as quantifiable perhaps as we might like things to be. I mean, it seems to be sum is greater than the parts, kind of a view of things, and but there's a certain degree of flexibility that seems to be kind of, I guess that, we've talked about grace and allowing acceptance and allowing, but that seems to be a little part of it. It's a little bit of the floating, and I don't know.
Well, I think mastering grace or flow, or, you connect and you move on. You don't get stuck with people. That is a great gift. So is high performance. They're not the same. Being able to hold those together does not happen all over the world.
Yeah.
If you don't have a purpose, an aim, nothing's going to happen. And if you don't bring flow, grace to it, you're not going to feel loved. And you're not going to be loved. And both of them are, God's will. It's a possibility.
So Kathy, thinking of, we talked about a lot of stuff and kind of your takeaways. What, to kind of close, what if you, if Jonathan and Michael or somebody else that you knew, you wanted to give them a message in a bottle that they might have to open at some future date, what would you want to be on it? So if, that to be opened in case of emergency.
Right. Remember to love yourself as well as anyone or anything else in the world that you've encountered, that you are the reason for all of its existence in your world. And you are the heart and soul of what's possible out there, what's available out there in your world. And just be quiet and be with that. And what there is to do will be apparent. How's that?
I like that. Very nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Likewise. Thank you. I love you both for doing this. I really appreciate it. And it's been really interesting, hopefully for you as well. But I think it's just stuff we don't always talk about, but it's really at the heart of a lot of things.